the assumption around how certain parts of our body should work. So a lot of times when we come to an exercise class of any kind, we can kind of give up our agency and our autonomy to a teacher. We can be like, oh, I'm supposed to be lifting that much weights. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this pose. And of course, being guided is such a gift, right? So we all know what it feels like to have the difference between being in a either a live stream or a live yoga class versus trying to do yoga on your own or in a library. So there is a gift to have a teacher as kind of like not just a accountability, but just someone to kind of a little bit for movies. So I understand that, but one of the things I really hope that you always are looking for is that I don't know anything. You, individual, know everything. So really, our greatest teacher is what's happening within. So try to rely less on use me as a guidepost, but not as the stop gate of what should be done. Really, the goal of your practice is to go deep within and find all the intuitive knowledge and the physical knowledge that is living within you. Nobody can feel your body, only you can. Nobody can know your mind, only you can. So that's just one thing, to just always make sure that you're following your own inner guide more than any teacher. So if the joy of doing live stream yoga is if you want to go off and do something else in the practice because that's what your body's calling for, if you want to hold a pose longer or not do a pose or modify something, always choose to do that. So how I can be of guidance is if you're not sure, this hurts, but I need to figure out a different way. I can offer suggestions, but it's really you're in the road. I'm only like a little bit of a map to help you. So the next thing, thinking along those lines, is we have so much emphasis on segmenting ourselves out. We think our brains work very systematically, where we think like the core is this, and we're going to use the core to do this, and this is an exercise for the core to strengthen the core. And so you can get very isolationist in your own body. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really great to focus in and hone in on parts of you to help you light up and learn how to be present in that part of your body. But ultimately, our goal is not to be a puzzle of parts. Our goal is to be the puzzle. It's not to be segmented parts stuck together. So in your practice, another bit of advice besides letting your internal guide be the guide is to try to balance this sense of honing in on something and then broadening out. I always think of it like looking at a tree and looking at the forest, kind of taking that broad view. And when we take the broad view, we have a greater sense of movement patterns instead of just muscle strength. And really, functional movement pattern is what we're looking for on the physical level of our practice. If you can, flex your bicep super well because you lift 10-pound weights constantly with your bicep, you're going to have a really strong bicep, but your bicep may not know how to be strong in a movement pattern where it's required to be in a different range. So to always think holistically, not just about your body, but about the mind, body, spirit, that we are so much more than just a muscle doing a thing. So it's just I know you all know this, but it's just a reminder to sometimes step back and look at the forest instead of the tree, and realize that the system of your body is so much more dynamic than we could ever know. I mean, we know like this much about how we function versus the mystery of how we really are. So revel in the mystery of yourself a little bit, and allow yourself to be as present for that mystery as you possibly can. All right, so sit up straight and tall and close your eyes for a moment. Take your time to settle yourself. I'm just messing with my computer here to make sure it's all good. Okay, so take a moment to settle yourself in a comfortable seat. And what does that mean for you? Are you up on some cushions? Are you down on the floor? Are you standing? Are you sitting in Virasana or Sukhasana? Where are you most comfortable? And then really notice, are you comfortable? Do you have support to keep spacious? Are you able to have a spacious, aligned spine? And when you do have a spacious, easeful, aligned spine, does the breath flow more easily? So for a moment, just slump a little bit. Where's what your typical pattern of slump might be. So if you don't think about it, your body will fall into it probably. And just notice your breath for a moment and see if this is your most alive state. And if there's something different to change, try it now. So cultivate, whether it's broadening the collarbones, feeling the shoulder blades move into a good place, aligning the weight of your head, relaxing somewhere, feeling the belly move. There's so many subtleties to allowing your spine to find its place that really isn't even about the spine. Melt open the diaphragm and let your front body be a little softer. Come into the opening of your breath. So sometimes it's really nice to focus on something really small, like maybe how the air feels moving through your nostrils. And this is a beautiful thing to light up one little part of you, and maybe especially if it's a sleepy part of you. Now feel the just the rhythm of your breath. So not one little tiny focus like your nostrils, but the flow of breathing, the wave of inhale and exhale, the dynamic rhythm. And see the difference in the quality of honing in on a tree and taking the bird's eye view of the forest. Both are beautiful, both are helpful, both are an experience of you. Allow your shoulders to rest. Steady yourself in the grounding of your lower body, maybe your legs, your pelvis. And just scan, is there any part of you that's holding tension that's unnecessary? Can we be efficient in our energy? Place your hands together at your heart and bow in, taking the time to center yourself. Feel your hands touch, center into your third eye. Feel the center of your breath. Offer an intention here. What do you need today? And let's release the hands and come onto your back. So as you find your way to supine, if you have a different idea of how you want to start your practice, that's great too. Okay, so come into whatever position you want. But if you're following me, then come to lie down on your back and stretch your arms overhead. This usually makes me want to yawn. I don't know about you, but it's a nice feeling to wake up your body and like kind of light a spark, ignite the nervous system just a little bit in a very soothing way, not like a shocking fight or flight way, but a revving the engines kind of way. So stretch the right side, stretch the left side. Come in to feel the wholeness from your foot to your hand. And then the other side, the wholeness from your foot to your hand. And then release your arms, bring your knees into your chest, rock a little bit, check in, how's your back today? Any tenderness, any pain? How is your knee flexion, your hip flexion? right, and then let's circle the knees a few times, one direction. Stay present with your breath a few times, another direction. Where are you feeling this? All right, and then open knees out wide away from each other and swing them back in, circles, semicircles, straight lines, wherever your hips naturally move. And just enjoy that you have this beautiful range of motion available to you. Can you imagine if we didn't have joints? So let's, even if your joints ache sometimes or have problems, let's be so grateful that we are hingy, that we have so much mobility because of all the many joints in our body. Right knee into the chest, left leg long. Feel the joints in your feet. Roll your ankles around, swish around in your toes. See if you can sense into your feet, especially if you're a chronic shoe wearer, if you don't spend a lot of time barefoot for whatever reason. Just enjoy a little bit of waking, opening. Switch sides, left knee in, right leg long. Feel the extension of your hip flexors. Lengthen into your spine as well as you keep rolling around your toes and your ankles. All right, and then stretch your whole body out, starfish. What a great way to feel into your body, to navel, to fingertips, navel to feet, navel to crown and tail. Wiggle the edges, so wiggle your fingers and your toes. Know where your edges are. And then on your next exhale, knees in, chest in, head up. Round your spine a little bit. Enjoy. Deep breath. Stretch your limbs wide and out. Exhale. Draw it on in. Feel that sense of spaciousness. Exhale. Release. Put your head down onto the ground. Arms straight out to the side like a T. Stretch your fingers. And let's windshield wiper our knees left and right. Maybe when your knees go right, you want to stretch the left hand a little bit more. Feel into those planes of rotation, where we kind of stretch in one way and then another. How's your breath in relation to what you're doing? All right, and then one more time, stretch out to a starfish. Big forest here. Feel your whole body. Exhale, round in, feel your whole body. All right, let's roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so let's enjoy being present for what you're sensing. See if you can stay, instead of leave to go somewhere inside your head. Stay in the body as you arch and round the spine. You might take time to focus on one little thing, like hugging your hands toward each other on the mat. Or you might feel it's time to focus on the big forest of the full swish and movement of your spine, the way your breath flows through you. So you can kind of vacillate back and forth between intention and attention on small things, and then intention and attention on broader things. Swish your spine around any way that feels good. Stay inside your breath as often as you can in your practice. Notice your breath. Stay inside of your breath. Let the breath be, broader, like your breath is a bubble around you and within you, and it's not something that's just a mechanical thing inside you. You are inside your breath instead of the breath inside you. All right, curl the toes under and lift up. Feel yourself come to dog pose and notice, what do you feel first? What part of your body just has a zing or a louder sensation? Can you move there first and then expand from there into some smaller sensation places? Do you want to pedal your feet? Do you want to move? Do you want to be still? What's available in your body? Are you trusting your weight into the floor? So start to feel into that yielding. If we're ever to learn strength within functional, healthy movement patterns, yielding is one of our primary resources to know how we move. So feel the earth, give to the earth with your hands and the feet, and then from the earth, rise up. all the way through to your pelvis, from your hands, through your shoulders, your sternum, ribs up to the pelvis. Yield your feet and then push off the balls of your toes up through the legs. Try not to just feel the hamstrings and the calves. Feel the femur bones inside. See if you can lift them high and back. Feel the fullness of your posture. Relax your neck. Come into your breath. And then walk your feet forward and find Uttanasana. Feel free to rock around, shake, you can bounce a little bit. What kind of movement is very respectful to your body right now? Inhale, halfway lift. Let the thigh bones move back. Feel the shins slightly move forward. What are you needing to modify? How are you making sure that you're taking care of your body? Relax, melt a little bit, bend the knees, push off your feet, rise all the way up. If you're dizzy, you can always squeeze to the midline. If you have, blood pressure rushes, that's a great way to stabilize and lift your blood pressure back up. Open your chest, lean back a little bit or not at all. Cactus your arms if you want, stretch your arms out. What's giving you the feeling that you want right now? What's giving you a sensation of healthy breathing? And then relax and tuck the chin toward the chest, palms together. Lift your chin up, ground into your feet. Feel into that sensation of yielding. So root your feet down. So sometimes it feels to me like my feet are melting in sand a little bit. Sometimes I feel like my breath goes to the soles of my feet. Sometimes I just feel the texture of my mat. So just see what sensation you have. What can you do to bring your awareness down to your feet? Yield into the earth. And then rebound, drink up through your body. Can you find, even without movement yet, that we have a dynamic relationship with the earth? We're going to come up onto our toes. Notice your balance or lack thereof. It's okay if you're a little wobbly, if your ankles sway left and right. See if you can come into stabilizing. Maybe your toes hate this. Maybe this isn't good for your toes. So you decide how to be. Bring your arms out or up. Find your breath. Don't worry if you lose your balance a little bit. The worst thing that's going to happen is you come onto your heels. Relax your neck. We're not lifting our feet from the base of our skull. All right, and then release your feet back down. Lift your toes. So get your weight into your heels. You can bring your hands anywhere that's going to support your balance. So experiment. Put your hands in different places as you bring your weight into your heels. Whoa. So experiment where your edge is. Notice your core. Maybe it's starting to kick in a little bit. And then relax. All right. So just a very gentle rocking, soles of the feet, heels of the feet, balls of the feet, balls of the toes, heels. Just kind of going back and forth, feeling the bottom of your feet. And now let's come into the inner feet and the outer feet. And so you can evert and invert your ankles a little bit. See if you can sense where you touch the ground when you press more into the index or the big toes and the inner heels, and then the feeling of what it feels like to take the outside knife edge of your foot deeper into the earth. So look how much mobility you have in your feet. Okay. Find your breath, spread out all the bones of your feet. Now 4 corners, big toes, pinky toes, inner outer heel, all weighting. Soften the knees, rise all the way up. Take a deep breath, exhale and melt forward. Relax your spine. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Step back to a plank. So hold yourself steady. Find that sense of stability. Stretch the bottom of your feet a little bit. See if you can imagine that you have eyes on the bottom of your feet that are spreading out and looking around. Integrate through the whole center line of the body. Stay inside your breath. When you press your index finger mounds down and hug your hands toward each other, what changes in your torso? Lose that. Take your weight into the outer wrists and go back and forth and just notice what shifts when you change the position of your hands. Put your knees down onto the ground. Find your way to the floor. Roll your shoulders a few times. Enjoy the movement. Stay inside your breath. Take a deep breath, cobra pose. Remember, anything can be modified. Follow your body. Come down. One more time. The more we learn to trust ourselves and give, that mantle of being in charge back to ourselves, the more we gain, the more awareness we gain, the more trust in ourselves we gain. All right, take a deep breath in and we're gonna lift everything up. Arms and legs, I don't care where your arms ended up. I don't care how wide your legs ended up. Just come on up and feel the whole body engage. Exhale and release to come down. Come back up, have a moment on all fours. Take a breath here. Maybe you wanna move your spine around. Curl your toes under. You can have your toes touching, your big toes touching if you want, or you can be wider. And stretch back towards child's pose, but with your toes curled under. So, just waking up your feet a little bit today. This may be very painful. Maybe your toes or your ankles don't flex very well. So just go where your body says is okay to go. And then come back onto all fours and smack your feet onto the ground. Okay? Just smack the tops of your feet, let them wake up a little bit. All right, and then curl the toes under and find dog pose. Take your feet in any plane you want. So maybe you like them to be wider, narrower. Experiment. Maybe you like to turn your toes in. Try to always find vectors of movement, planes of, joint, like whatever, however you want to position yourself. Experiment to find what feels right to your body. Try not to say, 45-degree angle must be the case. Everyone's different. There's no rules. There's only principles. Feel the extension. Feel the yielding. When you're ready, lift your right leg up in the air. Exhale. Bring that foot through to a lunge. If you like using blocks, you can grab some blocks. Extend open the heart. Feel the breath. Let's start moving the way we sometimes do. Let's straighten the front leg, tuck the chin, hips stay square. Enjoy the opening in the back of your leg. One more time, bend your knee. This time when you straighten your leg a little bit, lift your toes up off the floor. Feel that stretch all the way down and have as much height underneath your hands as you need to feel stable in this posture. Okay, place your foot back down onto the ground. When you're ready, rise up, and maybe you realize, I'd be a little bit better off with a wider stance or a narrower stance. So adjust anything that helps you feel that you're grounded and stable. Can you feel the roots? Let your feet drop into the earth and then drink it up all the way through your spine. Place your arms anywhere that gives you best sensation of breath. Open the heart. Feel the work of the legs. Move into the earth. Can you feel the forest here? So yield into the earth and rebound through your hands, through your crown. Exhale. Hands back down onto the ground. Back foot comes forward. Fold in half. Enjoy the symmetry. Halfway lift. Maybe use blocks. Maybe your hands are on your legs. Exhale and step back the other way. So left foot is now forward, right foot is back. Spread open the toes. Feel the length of the back leg. Finding your breath again. Stay inside your breath. The breath is bigger than you are. Let's begin to move inside that breath. Straightening the leg a bit and bending the knee. Where do you want to inhale? Where do you want to exhale? Do you find a pattern that works well for you? And the next time you straighten your leg, go ahead and lift your toes up off the floor if it's comfortable to do so. Make that hip move back if you can. Extend the spine. Notice if your pinky toe side of your foot falls toward the earth faster than the big toe side. And then release and melt your toes back down. Root into your feet. Rise on up. Find what's best for your breath. Relax your neck and shoulders. come into the effort of your legs. So yield into the earth and feel that rebound. Can you feel that your legs are your core, that the inner thighs hugging to the midline is a part of your core, that really everything is the core of you. It's not just this little tiny muscle group in the center of your body. Notice how the ground reaches the fingers through your body. All right, hands down onto the ground. Lift that left leg high in the air. Take a deep breath. Exhale and place that foot down onto the ground. Let's come down onto your knees and sit for just a moment. We won't be here long. Bring your legs straight out in front of you. You can always come up on the edge of a blanket if your body is wanting some more support. Okay. Dandasana is not the easiest pose in the world for a lot of people to sit in staff pose with your legs straight. So if you feel that it's difficult to keep the spine in that easeful, spacious state, and you tend to slump, then go ahead and bend one knee in while you do this, okay? We're going to take one foot at a time. So I want you to work with eversion and inversion a little bit. So when you pull the pinky toe side of your foot up toward the outer hip, can you feel that full chain of muscle grouping from your outer foot through your peroneals on the outside of your shin, all the way up to your IT band and your TFL, that little muscle in your outer hip, okay? So feel into that and then relax. And then if you need to bend the other knee, and we'll switch legs, you don't have to have your knee bent, you can keep in staff pose. Pull your pinky toe side of your foot all the way up, through the outer shin, through the outer hip, through the outer leg, upper thigh. Fine, so the muscles on the outside of your calf are called your peroneals, and then your IT band on the outside of your thigh, all the way up to the TFL. The TFL is an acronym for your tensor fascia lata. It's a little tiny muscle that the IT band is the tendon for, and it's a really strong stabilizing muscle. It's a hip flexor, and it also helps you when you walk. It does lots of things for us. See if you can sense into that. Okay, relax. Now 2 feet if you're able. You can always lean back a little bit if your spine is having trouble sitting in staff pose. Point your toes and then flex just your toes and then flex your feet. Point your feet but not your toes, and then point your toes, flex your whole foot. Back and forth through these 3 patterns. Toes pointing, feet pointing with toes flexing, and then everything flexing. Go back and forth. I think you guys, most of you know that I sprained my ankle like 3 weeks ago, and it's finally starting to feel like I can move it. So you're all, reaping the practice of ankle work for healing from a sprain. So if you've ever had a sprain, notice if these actions are difficult on one side versus another. Okay. All right, now we're gonna roll your ankles. See what it feels like to just feel into that movement. A lot of times those peroneal muscles on the outside of our calves can get pretty fatigued from doing this. Go the other direction if you haven't switched yet. All right, hopefully you're a little tired, so shake your feet out a little bit. Okay, and then let's go ahead and find our way back to dog pose. Okay, so move your props out of the way for a moment. Hands down onto the ground, stretch your feet. So we just focused on the feet. Now let's bring that focus into the legs, into the torso. See what it feels to yield hands and feet into the earth and rebound through your spine. Are you able to evenly press through the balls of the toes and the pinky toes? And for a moment, let's lift the pinky toe side of your foot up toward the outer hips. Light up that outer line of the body, the side line of the legs. And then while you're doing that, pull your feet apart from each other on the mat so that you can light your gluteus medius up as well. So even though there's a lot of focus on little areas of the body, breathe now into the fullness of what this feels like. All right, and then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Fold in half. Inhale, halfway lift. The spine grows a little bit longer. Exhale, and melt back down. Rise all the way up, come onto or up to stand. Touch your toes together, unless you know that chair pose is tricky for your knees, in which case you can always take a block between your knees to do this. All right, let's come into chair pose. Bring your arms maybe up, maybe out, maybe back, maybe palms to your heart. There's so many choices. Let your choice be about what gives you freedom, not necessarily what's easiest. Okay, so what gives you that sense of fullness in your body, of being fully present and accounted for in all parts? Relax the base of your skull. Draw your femur bones back, back, back. Lift up your toes just a little bit. Get into the heels. And then rise all the way up onto your tippy toes. Exhale, heels down, arms come back. Lower your torso. Inhale, chair pose. All the way up, tippy toes, on your tippy toes. Exhale, heels down, arms back. One last time, inhale. Chair pose all the way up to straighten your legs, tying on your toes. Exhale, back down. Come to be back in your version of chair pose, whichever it is. Let your thighs get some juice. Breathe. And then stand on up. Take your feet a little wider. Take a deep breath in, come down. You can always put a block between your thighs if you need to. Come down for a chair and bring your hands to the outside of your knees. Press your palms into the outer knees and your knees into your outer palms. Root your feet, four corners down, and then pull your feet apart from each other. Feel the work in your outer hips to stabilize here. Lengthen the spine. Finding the breath. Now see if you can lift up those peroneal muscles on the outside of the shins. Breathing here. Make connections from feet to shins, to thighs, to hips. And then yield, melt, rise all the way up. Coming to stand. Exhale, trace down through the center line of the body. Let's enjoy 2 feet on the floor. Where do you like to live? Are you a heel weight? Do you weight in your heels? Do you lean into one foot? Do you tend to push the pelvis forward? What's your tendency? And can you seek the balance in all 4 corners of your feet again? Yield into the left foot deeply. Lift the right knee up in the air. Okay. So usually we start balancing on our other foot. Just notice what it feels like to have a little balance on one foot that is maybe not your dominant side. Bring your body into fullness. Where do you want your arms to be? Can you feel that outer line from your outer edge of your foot through the outer shin up into the outer hip? Stabilize. Let this travel into your core, up through your chest, into your arms. Keep the neck relaxed. And then switch sides. Standing on your right foot, bring your arms down for a moment, yield. Give yourself over to the earth. Lift up through your crown. As you lift your knee up, notice, do you tend to sag the hip out to the side? Integrate the hip, that right hip in. See if you can take your right thigh bone back, soften the right knee. Feel the peroneals, the outer hip muscles working on that standing leg. Put your arms anywhere that your breath is happiest. Anywhere that supports your balance without you having to do funky things like lean forward in your pelvis or lock your knee. All right, and then relax. And let's enjoy. Close your eyes for a moment. Enjoy your 2 feet. Breathing well. All right, and then either jump or bounce. And you don't have to come off the floor. Maybe you're just bouncing in the body. See if you can feel the reverb into the earth. And no matter what you're doing, we're giving to the earth and we're receiving from the earth. How's your breath? All right, and then stillness, and feel the aliveness in your body. Come inside your breath again. Inhale, arms lifting, open the heart. Exhale, float. Where's ease in your body? Relax your neck. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down again. Step left foot back, right foot comes forward. Finding a lunge. And then rise up when you're ready. Crescent lunge again. And then we're going to turn and open up to the side. Parsvakonasana. When you bend your knee and place your elbow down, are you happy where everything is? Do you want to be less deep with your hand on your knee? The one principle you want to find is lining up the knee in line with the middle toes instead of letting it cave in toward the big toe side of the foot. It doesn't matter how deep into the pose you go, just find good alignment. And then with that back leg, how are those outer hip, outer shin muscles feeling? See if you cannot fall into the earth with the outer foot. See if you can lift just a little bit with the pinky toe side of the foot all the way through your hip. Feel into that. And then once you do feel into that, re-weight your whole foot down without losing the energy through the side of your body. What does it feel like in your back ankle, your back knee, your back hip? Do you need to adjust anything? Do you need to turn the hip in or turn the toes in? See what's best for your movement patterns. Can you ground both feet into the earth? Do you have that rebound through the spine, through the crown? When you yield into the earth, do you find that it can transfer weight through your whole body? Live inside your breath. All right, let's rise all the way back up. Turn your feet, go the other way. Okay, so let's start, actually, turn toward that edge of your mat and just come into crescent lunge on this side. Feel into what's available for you. Where do you want your arms? And then when you're ready, let's turn and open up to the side. So Parsvakonasana, bring your elbow down on your knee. Maybe your hand is on your knee. Maybe your hand is on a block on the inside or outside of your shin. So there's no rules about how far into the pose you want to go, but you want to just follow the principles of aligning your bones so you're bearing weight through bones. It'll make it much easier. There's ease in weight bearing through bones. They're strong. Okay, so knee lines up with middle toes, regardless of the depth of your posture. The back hip, the back toes, the back knee, all that can turn to whatever place it needs to so that you feel at ease in your sacrum and capable of grounding your whole foot into the earth. Find that outer thigh line if you want, from the outer heel up through the hip, and then reroute your whole foot down onto the ground. Live inside the breath. Make sure you're weighting evenly between your 2 feet. Do you have the earth as your friend? Is there anything you need to adjust? Angles of feet, angles of hips, angles of knees. Relax the shoulders. Come into the forest, feel the whole pose. All right, great. And then come back up. Turn back to the front edge of your mat. Hinge forward, or to the long edge of your mat, sorry. Hinge forward and bring your hands down. Legs stay wide for a moment. Feel into the sacrum. Find your breath. Stretch back. Now turn your feet to the back edge of your mat, your hands to the front. Dog pose. Deep breath in, deep breath away. Come forward into a plank. Hold yourself steady. Find that stabilization between amongst all the corners of your hands, the index fingers, the pinkies, all through the wrist instead of just the outer wrist. Put your knees onto the ground if you need to, and find your way to the ground. Curl your toes under, lift your thighs up, spread your legs, and lay your thighs back down. Take a deep breath. Only lift your legs up. See if you can feel that outer hip activate again. Are you stronger on one side than the other? Can you use your core to help you? And then release. and relax. Come up onto your hands and your knees. Then we're going to come to lie down on our right side. So as you come to lie down on your side, form a straight line. You can alternate this if you need to, but if you can, get on a knife edge, be on a slack line with your whole body. Lift your arm. Now, when you lift your arm, you feel like you slide backwards or forwards, you can always keep your hand on the ground to help stabilize you on that knife edge. And when you're ready, lift the leg up in the air. Now feel that your core is a part of this action, that you're not just lifting from the outer hip, that it's really a full torso pose. Press your leg on the ground into the ground. Lift the leg in the air away from the ground. And if you want more challenge, lift the arm up too. Try to stabilize through your core, relax your neck, and play with balance. It's okay if you fall off the line. Stay inside your breath. All right, and then relax and melt and release the hand down onto the ground. Roll. So this is, very much an isolation thing. This isn't necessarily how we move, but it's going to help us light up muscle groups for when we do functionally move in a moment. Okay, so switch to the other side. Now our left side is on the ground. Come onto that slack line. So sometimes I do this on the very edge of my mat so I can make sure that I'm finding that skinny line to lay down upon instead of bananaing my body a little bit. If you need support for your head, take it. If you want to keep your hand on the floor in front of you for stability or on your hip, that's great. You do not have to lift your arm in the air. Go ahead and lift that leg up in the air. Press your leg into the ground as much as the leg is lifting away from the other. So, we're working both sides of the pelvis here. Engage through your core. Feel your neck relax. So you don't have to lift your foot from your neck. Notice when you hold tension in your neck how connected everything actually is, that our neck wants to do the work of lifting our foot. Stay inside your breath. Turn your toes straight so you feel those outer hip muscles. All right, and then relax and melt. Come onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit. And just make sure you're very nurturing for the spine. All right, inhale, starfish yourself out. Exhale, head up, chin in. Roll over onto your side and come to dog pose. Find your breath. Feel your feet spread out the toes. Inhale, lift your right leg up in the air. Exhale, bring that foot through. Lunging on this side. Rise up, crescent lunge or Vera 1. Maybe you want your full back heel to be down. And then we're going to turn and open up to the side. Grab a block. It's usually easiest to do this pose with a block. You don't have to, of course. You can do this pose with your back against a wall. You can hold on to furniture. There's so many ways to do Ardha Chandrasana. That's where we're headed. Okay, so we're going to start in Parasva Konasana. I'm doing a little bit shorter pose because I don't have space and I want to not hit my head. Okay, so we're going to come up into half moon pose. Look at your toes and make sure they didn't move so they're pointing straight. Find your breath and lift yourself up. As you come into this pose, feel the core, feel the outer hips. Lift the pinky toe side of that foot in the air all the way through to the pelvis. Breathe your way into an open chest. Soften the knee you're standing on. Can you feel your crown and tail lengthen away from each other? Find your breath. Can you root into the foot and rise through your body? All right, and then a big giant step out. When you come, if you can control the balance, notice I didn't come out like this. I didn't turn my foot down. So I know I say this a lot, but I'll repeat it again. When we are standing on one leg in external rotation, because that's what's happening in this posture, our standing leg is externally rotated. So if we're in a strong pose like that, and we internally rotate our thigh from external rotation while we're weight bearing on one leg, this is very stressful for your hip joint, for the labrum, for the ligaments. There's a lot going on in your hip. It's a very stable joint, and we want to keep it that way. So it's best in that pose to go in and out of it with the same angle of our hip joint. So you want to start, so it's coming to the other side. When we start in this pose, we always want to start already externally rotated. So you can come at it from triangle pose or Virya or Parsvakonasana, so that you're already in that external rotation of your front hip, so you're not having to mess with that while you're trying to balance. So find your way into any of those three poses to get yourself here, and then root your foot, spread out your toes, feel the four corners. Hop up. Now, maybe you're like me and you have furniture in the way, so you can use furniture to your advantage. And when you come up into the pose, don't worry if your balance is a little off. Maybe you need to do this pose with your back against a wall to help you find the angles of the pose, the work of the pose, without having to balance necessarily. So when we throw balance into an equation, everything changes, right? So notice your breath changes, your body will tense in weird places to try not to fall down. Soften the knee, lift that leg, engage both outer hips, engage your core. Stay inside your breath. All right, and then remember, when you come out, bend your knee and stretch back to triangle pose or Parsvakonasana, something that's externally rotated. Come on up. Now you can spin back to the front of your mat. Lift that left leg high in the air. And then place your foot down into a lunge, left foot into a lunge. Rise up, bring yourself into Virya 1 or crescent lunge. So we're, backwards through this, then the other side. Deep breaths. And then walk your back foot forward. Come into to Tadasana. Pause here for a moment. 2 feet onto the ground. Yield your feet. Spread out the bones of your feet. Once again, coming onto the toes. Notice your core. Imagine, if you were leaning over a cliff, you would not just be totally absent-minded. You would be fully present for what your body is stabilizing. And then come back, weight into the heels, and just notice, where's your tipping point? What happens in your core to help you here? All right, and then 2 feet down onto the ground. Take a deep breath. Yield. All right, the last balance we're going to do is stand on your right foot. Pick up your left foot. I'm going to give you 2 choices. Either figure 4 or triangle pose. Okay, so you decide which is your favorite. And sometimes I would say choose your favorite. Sometimes I would say choose your not favorite. Do you avoid poses for any specific reason? So explore whichever one you want to right now, whatever feels intuitively right for you to be doing in your body. If you're in figure 4, flex your foot. So the foot that's on top of your knee, pinky toe side of that foot, reaching to the outer knee, anywhere in the arms that gives you breath. And same with tree pose, wherever your foot landed, whether it's close to the floor or up high, can you lift through that pinky toe side of the foot, lift through your spine, arms go anywhere breath takes you. Notice the mind in balanced postures. Okay, and then 2 feet onto the ground. Feel your forest. Maybe you want to bounce or rock. Maybe you want to shake out your arms. Maybe you want to take a big, deep breath. Whatever works. Root into your left foot. Choose figure 4 or tree pose. If you're in figure 4, try not to hike either pose really. Don't hike your hip out. Keep that hip, the standing leg hip in. Wide sit bones as you lean forward. Lift the pinky toe side of that foot to the outer knee. Arms go wherever you want them to be. If you're in tree pose, depending on where your foot ended up, see if you can lift the pinky toe side of the foot a little bit to activate those outer hip muscles, soften the knee. Bring arms anywhere the breath takes you. All right, and then relax. Just come to the floor, take a deep breath in, enjoy your feet. Exhale, melt, fold in half, halfway lift, and then come down onto the ground. All right, so either pigeon pose or reverse pigeon pose. You decide, but we're gonna now stretch all those outer hip muscles. So decide, let's take ourselves into either pigeon pose like I'm doing or onto your back for reverse pigeon pose. Relax your shoulders away from the ears. If you're in pigeon pose and your foot is pulled away from your pubic bone pretty far, lift the outer edge of your foot toward your knee. If your heel is very close to the pubic bone, you don't have to do that action. Your knee is in a better, more stable position. So when you lift, when you're in a 90-degree angle that you might be in, if your foot's real pulled away from your pelvis, in order to keep the alignment of your knee joint, lifting the outer edge of your foot toward the outer knee, using those peroneal muscles will help you align the tibia and fibula against the femur in a really good way. So it really just depends on the angle of your foot, how you choose to act. Experiment. What feels best in your body? There's no rules. So everything I just said may not be accurate for what's happening in you with a knee issue or a hip issue. And you melt the neck and shoulders no matter what posture you're doing. All right, then come out of that side and let's come into the other side. And you might have to do reverse pigeon pose on one side and pigeon pose on the other, or however it works for your body. You can have support underneath, use a blanket or a block underneath your hip or your back thigh. Once again, determine how you want to be with your foot. So like for myself, with this front foot being injured, it hurts like the dickens to pull my pinky toe side of my foot toward my outer knee. So I'm going to rest my heel closer to my pubic bone. Even though my hip can handle a wider stance, my foot can't. So just see what your joints are asking you to do. Breathe well. Find your breath. Live inside of your breath. Feel the forest. All right, let's go ahead and come out of the posture. Come to lay down on your back if you're not already there. Bring your knees to your chest and rock a little bit. Put your feet down. Lift your hips up, scooch to the right, knees up, come left. Come into a twist. Now, if you want to stretch that IT band and the peroneal muscles in the outside of your shin, feel free to straighten your top leg. Grab on to your pants, behind your knee, your calf, your big toe. Use a strap around your foot, whatever it is that you want. Find your breath. You don't have to do this. You can just stay with your knees together and your shins together. And then inhale and lift your knees up, back onto your back. Scoot your hips to the right, knees up. Hips to the left, knees up, and drop your knees to the right. Find your pose before messing with your legs. Feel into the spine, feel into the breath. Find the full body. Live inside your breath. And then maybe you want to straighten that top leg, the knees stay together. Deep breaths here. And then relax and melt out of there and find Shavasana. So if you need a little happy baby pose or anything else, take whatever your body needs, your body, your mind. You get to nourish yourself, however your intuition and body, whatever's speaking to you, let it be your guide. As you come into this final rest, are you able to, can you melt? Is there a way for you to soften and give yourself over to the release? Can you melt your shoulders? Is your breath guiding you? Is your face relaxed? Melt into your legs and your hips. Belly soft. Let's go ahead and find some movement in our body. Let's go feels like to breathe. Let's find the forest again. So maybe breathe into your whole body. Maybe your arms and legs stretch wide again. Maybe it's just your breath that's moving through your whole body and you're not moving yet. And eventually find your way to your side. Use your body weight, let it lift from your hands. So try to drape yourself up instead of springing yourself up. And once you find a comfortable seat, have a moment to explore the breath once again. Maybe placing the palms together and finding that single focused tree between your hands. And then the big forest with your breath. Feel your whole being. Let's offer our practice. Share your energy. Send forth your love and care to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a blessed day.